Whoa, isn't that incredible? He was given the beans. Dun, dun, dun. Alters the whole course of your life. They hold a piece of my karmic contract in those moments. Massive magic. Hi, my friends. It's Meredith, your evolutionary astrologer, and today I'm going to teach you how to find the magic in your chart, the magical time in your life. I'm going to show you when you have this magical moment in your life when you might not even realize it, because it might not be the birth of your child or your wedding day. But let me tell you, there are profound shifts at this particular time. We're going to use your progressed chart, and I am going to show you this one trick and technique to show you how the progressed new moon in your progressed chart creates massive magic. It creates a turning point, and it creates a time in your life where you might even be unaware of how impactful and how important the people that you meet, the moments in those days and the activities that you do, how absolutely critical they are to the entire trajectory of the rest of your life. It's going to be really exciting. Now, I'm going to try to keep this kind of simple for you, but you may need to watch this video 2 times because we're doing advanced astrology. And if you haven't noticed, we don't do sun sign astrology here. No, you can do sun sign astrology on my channel, and I have a ton of videos on that. But if you've been studying with me now for 4 years or so, you're ready for these more advanced concepts, and I'm going to teach you these advanced techniques. Hold on to your hat, strap in, and let's go for this magic carpet ride. Okay, so you are in fact going to need a tool for this, okay? And the only tool that you're going to need is your ephemeris. So did you buy it? Hopefully you did. I'll put a link in the video to my Amazon shop. And if you get it over there, I get a whopping 10 cents, woo, from every order. But that's not really the motivation that I have in you getting your ephemeris. I cannot live without my ephemeris. Now you can also, if you want immediate results, and this video creates massive curiosity, you can in fact work with an ephemeris online. Now, you can just go look up ephemeris for the time you were born, but I really recommend you get your book so you can look up other people with ease. And I've talked a lot about the importance of the ephemeris, so I won't go too deep into that in this video. I'm doing a whole progression series using your progressed chart, and this is about my 4th video or so. So please go watch those previous videos so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. When you crack the code of progressions and all the different ways in which you can use your progressed chart, how you can look at the clock face of the progression and then measure it in your own life, you can actually start to see, it's so beautiful. You can see the theme song of your own karmic path. It's really powerful. And I'm going to show you today Freddie Mercury's chart from Queen. And I'm going to show you his progressed chart. I'm going to show you a couple of really hard things and some magic moments. It's pretty outstanding. It was really remarkable. It also made me extraordinarily sad. What a brilliant person. So we are going to look at in your progressed chart, when your progressed sun and your progressed moon make an exact aspect. Now, listen to me. This very first progressed new moon, that's what we call it, is going to happen at a very different time for everybody. For you, it could be a day. For your mom, it could be a year. For me, it could be 15 years. For Freddie Mercury, it could be 28 years. Right? It depends where the sun and the moon are in your natal chart. You can buy your progressed chart from me, and you can get your Astro Advanced Gold Package. And I highly recommend you do that so you can see where your progressed moon is right now. I'm going to give you the tool and the math on how you can calculate for your own progressed new moon. So a progressed new moon is when your progressed sun and your progressed moon are at the exact same degree. The progressed sun moves 1 degree per year of your life, but the progressed moon moves much faster than that. It moves through an entire sign, all 30 degrees, in just 2.5 years. So it moves very quickly. 2.5 years times 12 signs is around 30 years, but it doesn't work exactly like that because it doesn't always stay exactly precisely at 2.5 years. Sometimes it's a couple months shorter, and sometimes it's a little bit longer because sometimes we have 28 days, 29 days, 30 days, 31 days in a month. So it does change a tiny bit. So when you're using progressions, we are going to use exact degrees in the chart, but I want you to put the timeline in your head. Like if it shows up when you were 11 years old, but a major thing happened at 12, well, that progression still counts because you were planting the seeds for the major thing that happened the following year. And progressions and your progressed new moon is only going to happen between 27 and 30 years. So you're only going to get a couple. You're only going to get a couple in a lifetime. It's plate tectonics. It's when your whole life is changing the trajectory. Imagine you're a battleship and you're in the middle of the ocean and you have to turn around, right? Let's say you have to do an about face. You have to turn around in 180 degrees. It's going to take you a long time to make that turn, right? You also have to know that you're going to make that turn before you make that turn because you can't just stop the battleship and turn. You have to, I'm sure, maneuver the turn somehow. And so you need to know it before it even comes. And that's what I want to give you today. By the way, what my whole entire goal is to share the incredible powers of astrology, the tools in how to excavate for the magic that lives within the astrological karmic contract of your life. I want to give you the tools to start to understand astrology at a much deeper level. So it's like this. I could bake you a cake and the cake would be delicious and you would love it. And I do offer that in my charts and reports in my shop. So you can just go to Shop Soul Navigation and you can get a ton of incredible reports. And I recommend every single one of them. Why? Because I bought the licensing to be able to sell them. These are the charts and reports that I really believe in. So I can bake you a cake. So I can give you a chart. I can give you a report. Yippee yahoo. And I can tell you all the answers. But I can also teach you how to bake that cake, right? So I want to give you the cake and then I want to teach you how to bake the cake too. This video is for people that really want to learn how to bake the cake too. Let's dive in. We're only going to look for one thing and one thing only. Now, I could look for, let me tell you, there's 40,000 different things in your chart. So don't squirrel out on me and start looking for the 39,999 things. I just want you to look for this one thing with this particular exercise because it's kind of complicated and it's kind of hard until you get it. And then it's super easy, right? It's just like working with fondant. Fondant is so hard, or pie crust. It's so hard to make the perfect pie crust. But once you learn how to do it, it's really, really easy, right? That's just like this. So stick with me. So first I want to show you Freddie Mercury's chart, and here it is. He was born in Tanzania, and he studied and he was raised and spent a lot of time in India. And so I think astrology must have been, I don't know and I can't confirm this, but I think it must have been a big influence in his life. He gave his last name, his stage name, Mercury, to the rising star in his chart. And he was a rising star, and he was very mercurial. And look at this. Mercury is the highest planet closest to the ascendant to be rising. It's right there close. It's not far. It's only 11 degrees away from his rising sign. So I think that is very, very interesting. It also, with Leo rising, the sun is the ruler. The sun in Mercury is also the ruler of his chart. So there's two reasons to give himself that last name. And I did read in one of his interviews that he gave himself that stage name because it was his rising star. And it is his rising star in two different ways. What we're trying to do specifically is we are looking at when his sun and his moon will progress for the very first time in his life to the same exact degree. So I'm going to show you that chart now. Okay. So now this looks really, really complicated, but it actually isn't. You can actually see that his natal wheel is on the inside and his progressed chart is on the outside wheel. With this progressed new moon, I like to see what else it's doing in the chart. So let me tell you when this happened, and I'll tell you how you can find it in your own chart, but you can see it right here. So he was born on September 5th, 1946. And it actually took until almost Christmas 1966 for the sun and the moon to move into his new moon progression. Let me show you how you can do this easily for yourself, okay? And I'll also tell you why, in where it says outer ring, why it says calculated September 25th, 1946, and day for a year progression, and then December 24th, 1966. I know those aren't his birthdays, but they are when the magic happens. So what we do is you go to your birthday. In this case, let's say you're Freddie. We're going to go to our ephemeris. You need to make sure that your ephemeris has the year that you were born in it. So if you are born after 2 2000, you need to use a different ephemeris. But we're going to go to 1946, okay? And we're going to go to September 5th. Okay, so here we are. I'm in September 1946. And I'm going to go look at, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing because it's hard for you to see. I have my aspect finder here. It's always close to me. And I'm going to go to September 5th. Okay, we can see in our ephemeris that he was born, and I'll show you the chart, that he was born with a 27-degree Sagittarius moon. And we can see that the sun was in Virgo and the moon was in Sagittarius. And we can see the lineup of his planets. So this is what you're going to do. This is so exciting. You are going to look at the sun and moon column in your ephemeris. And you're going to scroll down until the sun and the moon are in the exact same sign. And in this case, we already know that it's going to be in Libra, but you're not going to know what yours is going to be. So you're going to hunt. On the 6th, well, we had his sun in Virgo and the moon moved to Capricorn. That makes sense, right? Because Capricorn comes after Sagittarius. And on the 7th of September, we have the sun in Virgo and the moon is still in Capricorn. And that makes sense, right? Because the moon moves every 2.5 days into a new sign. Are you following me? Are you getting this? Let's keep going. So then on the 8th of September, we can see that the sun is now at 14 degrees Virgo and the moon has moved into Aquarius. And it makes sense because he was born on 11-degree Virgo sun. And it takes time. We have to go down, 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 down. And here we are. On the 24th, we have a Libra sun. It's at 0 degrees. And we have a moon still in Virgo. So we know it's going to change because it's at the late degrees of Virgo. The ephemeris shows you the degrees. It actually shows the degrees in here. So we got to go a little bit further. On the 24th, we see that the moon has moved and is moving into Libra, but it doesn't officially get there until the 25th. Now, I want to tell you something. I use the noon hour. If you're using the 0 degree hour, there's 2 columns for the moon. There's a 0 degree and there is a noon. I use the noon, and it's just a safer bet. And I believe this is GMT time, but I use 12 noon, and your degrees will be a little bit more accurate. So this takes place on the 25th. Now, what's really, really important is you need that moon degree to be either exact to the moon or higher. So than the sun. The sun is at 1 degree. So you need at least a 1 degree or higher. So you don't want to have the moon behind the sun because that's not a new moon. That's a balsamic moon. And we'll see what happened to Freddie on his balsamic moon. So when the moon is in direct alignment or higher, up to even 45 degrees, it makes a new moon aspect. And we're looking for the new moon in the progressed chart. And this is one of the most magical and powerful days of your life, or times in your life, I should say, because this lasts for quite a while. This energy lasts for probably 6 months to a year. So we can see that is his first new moon by progression. So this is September 25th. He was born September 5th. So this is exactly 20 days. This is 20 days after he was born. And so let me show you that when we're looking over here where it says the outer ring, and it says December 24th, 1966. Well, 1966, that's the exact day that I have chosen to show you his new moon by progression. And if I was to get really exact, I could put it at the 1 degree, 42 minutes, or I could get it to be just totally exact, but I just rounded to this. I just want to show you the assignment because in the ephemeris, you won't be able to get to the exact degree. You need a software program to get to the exact degree, but you can get the basic timeline. And so I just want you to know the basic time. So in 1966, well, you know that if he was born in 1946, that's 20 years. That's 20 years later. So this is called a day for a year. So 20 days after his birth shows us the 20th year of his life. And it shows us that the sun and the moon by progression joined in a new moon aspect together and created one of the most powerful times in his life. You might think, oh, okay, well, is this like when he cut his first album or hit it big or what? No, it's a lot more subtle than that. But it is in his house of value and of the arts, which is really interesting. He actually, in 1966, he went to Ealing College of Art, and it was a really hip school, and he studied art. He actually met Pete Townsend from The Who and Ron Wood, the guitarist it was a band called The Faces, and he later became a guitarist with the Rolling Stones. He graduated there. He was very smart. I mean, look at his chart. He has all that Mercury, right? Sun in Virgo in the first house. I mean, he was just kind of a maverick with his intelligence and his creativity. And then the sun ruling his chart in the first house in Virgo with Mercury rising. I mean, this is a very smart person. He got his diploma in graphic art and design in 1969, but in 1966, he started meeting all of the people in his life that would come to shape Queen and shape his world. He wrote his entire thesis paper on Jimi Hendrix. It's probably worth a ton of money if we could get our hands on that thesis. He had met Roger Taylor. He rented a flat in Kensington. This is in England. And he started a market stall with his friend Roger Taylor. They were selling their artwork that they had made just to get a couple bucks in their pocket. They were really flat out broke. And so here this new moon by progression is happening in his second house of money, of arts, and of self-esteem. And what's really cool about this is it was all happening conjunct his natal Neptune, right? So he was really stepping into this new beginning, this new magic in his life. So he had met this guy named Tim Staffel, and Staffel and Roger Taylor had a band called Smile. And Brian May was in this band, right? Like, this is the first minute in time that he meets all these great minds. Freddie loved the band Smile, and he was really impressed by May because Brian May's major claim to fame, I guess, was his previous band. I think it was called 1984, played for or supported or intertwined with Jimi Hendrix. And that was Freddie Mercury's total idol and icon. So Freddie met these highly influential friends, and they sort of fell in love with Freddie. And Brian May says, the first time I met Freddie, even way back then, he was poor. He didn't have any money. He had no success to speak of yet. He didn't even really have any real hope of success to speak of yet. But he was so authentically and unabashedly himself that when he met him at this time, he was like, Freddie knew he would be a success someday. He knew he would be a star. And he acted like that. He acted like he would be a star, like he owned it, even though he had no success to speak of. And Brian believed it to be true. They all met. And it is that beginning. It is that seed that planted that basically created Queen and put Freddie Mercury on the map. And he adopted his rising star for his stage name. I'm not positive Freddie even knew what he was doing. He was selling his artwork at the stall, at this farmer's market, artist market. He liked this band named Smile. He really liked Brian because he had played with or supported Jimi Hendrix. That was his idol. He didn't even know what the universe was bringing him. And that's the magic about your own progressed new moon. What happens, and I say this a lot in a lot of my videos, is he was given the magic beans. And these are not seeds. These are not sunflower seeds, which are gorgeous. These are not, tulip bulbs. No, these are the magic beans in your life. And so when you have a progressed new moon, and I like to go forward and see when my future ones are, because I know the people that I'm going to meet. I know the encounters that I'm going to have. I know that the experiences that will be brought to me and the doors that will open for me matter. They mean something. They hold a piece of my karmic contract in those moments. So this is what I want you to do. Now, let's go look at his second progressed new moon. Okay, let's do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to scroll down. I'm on here. He was born September 5th. I'm now on September 25th. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to look to see when he's going to have his next new moon by progression. Now, listen, we know it's going to be 27, 28, or 29 years later, because that's how long it takes for the moon to go around. We know it's going to be approximately that because we've got to get the moon to go all the way around and meet in its next sign. And we know that the sun is going to progress 1 day per year. So we don't have to look too closely to the 25th. We can go down here and we just look to see in the 12 noon column of the moon, not the 0 hour, the 12 moon column, we just look to see when we get the sun and the moon in alignment. On October 24th, 1946, it translates to July 2nd, 1996. But we know that he didn't live that long. He didn't live to see his second new moon by progression. He died 5 years earlier in 1991, November 24th, 1991. So he never got that second new moon. And I want you to go and look and see when your second new moon was. Now, if we were to count, September 5th to October 25th, 1946, it's the same year. How many days that is that's how old he would have needed to be to have experienced that. He died at 45 years old. And he died in 1991. So he would have needed to be 50 years old. He was 5 years away from it. One of the things I want you to do is see, and I did this for my own chart, see when you think your third and your fourth progressed new moon can be, because those are very big moments in time. And he was robbed of his second one. So I want to show you where that progressed moon was when he passed away. So this was really fascinating to me. So since he didn't get his second progressed new moon, I wanted to see, well, where did he end his life? And by the way, I don't know if you're interested in learning how to see death in the chart, but I will be teaching this in Barcelona, Spain, in my workshop, which I hope you guys are all coming to. I've got like 28 tickets still available. It's going to be a really intimate group, and I'm going to show you how to read death in the chart, not necessarily your own, but what are some death markers. And so this is actually his death chart, but I don't know. And he died in England. He didn't die in Tanzania. But I don't know the exact time of his death. So anyways, I just did the 12 a.m. So this was his last chart while he was alive. Look at where that progressed moon is. This is the progressions. And you can see this in the ephemeris. You can see on October 20th, it was his last day. We can go see it. And right here, it shows me moon moved to Virgo. Just barely moved into Virgo, which we can see up on the chart. So you can see that the moon was in Virgo on his Mercury exact. It had just crossed into, across his ascendant, and it's headed towards his sun. This is for some advanced listeners. I want you to take a little peek at this because I thought this was very, very interesting. What I'm teaching you in this video is when you have a new moon aspect. But if you guys haven't watched my videos called The Phases of the Moon, I want you to go watch The Phases of the Moon, part 1 and part 2, and then listen to part 2 and listen to the part, it's all timestamped, where I talk about the balsamic moon. Because he was coming up on a balsamic moon phase from his progressed 1-degree Virgo moon to his 11-degree Virgo sun. That's not only a balsamic moon phase from the progressed moon to the natal sun, that is the dark moon. And I talk about the dark moon, and only the balsamic moon has a secondary sub-phase called the dark moon of the night, the dark moon of the soul. And I talk about it, and I talk about the depth of that. And that is a time of loss. That is a time of leaving. That is a time of depression. That is a time of, well, in this case, he died of AIDS, but he died of respiratory issues. And that's what Virgo is. That's what Mercury is. It's the breath. It's breathing. And it's in a balsamic moon phase to his natal sun. Now, listen to me. I'm really talking about progressions in this video, right? The moon is coming up in just a few degrees, like in 5 degrees. This moon, which is about half a year, it's going to sit in a balsamic phase to his progressed sun. And I want you to learn about the balsamic phases. They're important. They're the last phase. They're the ending phase. They're when the moon is going out. So it's coming to a complete close. He was in 2 balsamic phases almost. So he was in a balsamic phase, and he was even in a deeper balsamic phase with the dark moon to his natal sun. And look at this, just in 6 months' time, 3 to 6 months' time, he would have been within 45 degrees of this progressed sun, and he was staring down the barrel, probably in great denial about his health, because he was, doing it all, being a rock star, couldn't get over that balsamic moon, and it snuffed him out. And it actually didn't, because his legacy forever lives on. And then I wonder what happened in 1996 when this did become new. And I wonder if there was a resurrection, or if there was some sort of resurgence of his music or his band, or, did he really become an icon? Maybe people who didn't even know about him started to know about him. Maybe his death became iconic again in some way. His truth can be known more so now in 1996. So you can see a person's legacy after they leave the earth in their new moon progressions. So if you die tonight, and you were to have a progressed new moon, I don't know, in a week from now, what does your celebration of life party look like, right? So your chart still continues on after you leave this earthbound body, because the soul lives eternally. I really wanted to show you, in truth, the new moon by progression and the power of it. And with Freddie, we only got that one. Now, you're going to say, but what about when he cut his first album? What about when he became popular? What about the day they've recorded, I don't know, Bohemian Rhapsody? What about when he was diagnosed with AIDS? What about all those other times, Meredith? What about all the famous moments in time? Well, those are probably in the chart by progression through a different planet, and they are probably giant transits. So I didn't want to go into the teaching of just Freddie Mercury's chart. I was really just trying to show you what it looks like when you have that new moon happening by progression. This is the only tool you need. You don't even need your gorgeous natal chart. You can have it, but you need an ephemeris. And you can find it online if you want, or you can just look it up. And I love this because I can go look up anybody. I don't have to scroll on the computer one day at a time not knowing. I can just literally glance and I can see his whole life in these days. And you could give me a date on Freddie Mercury and I could go look up, okay, he was 22 years old. I can go count 22 days from September 5th and I can go look at his planetary lineup. Isn't that incredible? This is just a little bit of an advanced tool. And I know that this is a little bit harder than what we normally do, but I really want to show you these magic minutes. I really want to show you these super magical minutes. And remember, your very first progressed new moon, this is when the sun changes signs and the moon changes signs. Or let's say you're born with the moon just 2 degrees behind your sun. So let's say you are a 20-degree Cancer and you're born with a 18-degree Cancer moon, right? So the moon is just 2 degrees behind the Cancer sun. The sun moves every day, it moves a degree. And the moon moves faster than that. It moves much faster than that. So you have to go look it up. And it can happen in the sign in which you were born in. It doesn't always progress to the next sign. It depends. It depends what degree you were born on. So you really do need an ephemeris to know when the progressed new moon happens to you. You can figure out where the sun is going without even an ephemeris because you can count in your head a degree for a day. But to get that new moon and to see when that new moon happens, because the sun is moving and the moon is moving faster. And is the moon behind or in front of, right? So you have to use your ephemeris to get that. And you're only going to have, well, Freddie only had one. And that's because he was born with a Virgo sun and a Sagittarius moon. So the Sagittarius moon had to go all the way around and catch up to his sun, and his sun had progressed to 1 degree Libra by the time the moon caught up. His sun and moon were very far apart when he was born. If your sun and moon are very close together, then you're going to have your progressed new moon happen much faster. So I hope this makes sense, and I kind of hope that this really blows your mind. And let me know if this was too hard, too painful. I just want to say I absolutely love teaching you, and I do read my comments. I can't answer all of them. I try to answer my super supporters comments as often as I can, but life is getting like big and out of control. So I just try my best to know that my whole heart is in this. I love teaching you, and I hope that you're coming to my Playful Progressions party. It is for members only. So if you're you have to get a ticket though. Just go to Shop Soul Navigation. It's free for superstars, and it's only $4.99 for super supporters. It's my way to say thanks. And I'm just going to do charts. I'm literally it's going to be a party. It's going to be play. So I'm not going to be teaching you, except I'm going to be teaching you how to read the charts. And I'm going to be teaching you how to see progression. So if you really want to learn about these magic moments in your life, Freddie was not walking around going, wow, that was the most powerful time in my whole life. But it was. He just didn't know it. He was given the beans, and he grew his beanstalk. And so, I mean, he met the people in his life who made Queen with him, which went on to be, one of the greatest rock bands of all time in the world. Whoa, his fame. And his life was so short-lived. And then looking and seeing that he passed away during the balsamic moon phase, it really broke my heart. He was just 5 years shy of his next moment of greatness. Now, these moments of greatness are sometimes really loud, but there's sometimes what's quietly happening behind the scenes that alters the whole course of your life. Dun, dun, dun. All right, you guys, I'll see you at my Playful Progressions party or live on YouTube, or maybe crossing my fingers in Barcelona. We're going to take a sunset cruise. We're going to go to a flamenco show, and we are going to have Tempranillo wine and tapas on a rooftop bar somewhere, hopefully. Wherever you are in the world, I just hope so much you know that I love being here with you. So from my home into Seattle to wherever you're at, I wish you the very, very best. Happy learning.